Welcome to the Traditional Way podcast brought to you by the Martial Arts Internet Network. I am your host, Brett Shumway. Take time to check out all of our content on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all major podcast platforms, and of course on our website at www.mainternetwork.com. On today's episode, we're going to start breaking down the results from the first Karate One Premier League event that took place in Paris, France. Now, this is the first time the Premier League has returned to Paris since before the pandemic. With 3 years since their last installment, the excitement in the run-up to this event was great. Paris has been a Premier League event off and on over the years since their start in 2011. This year, we saw the return of 8 of the 12 grand winners from last year and also 6 reigning current world champions. Let's be honest, folks. This event is where we separate the greats from the rest of the pack. I can't state it any clearer than that. The Premier League is just that, right? It lives up to its name. Removing the World Championships, the Premier League is the top of the traditional sport karate world. It's where the top competitors compete against each other in a round-robin format to be crowned the best in their division. For me as a fan, I can't state it enough, right? The Premier League is the pinnacle. It dictates what happens on all the rest of the karate circuits that offer Japanese Okinawan traditional forms. I'll give you a quick example. If you see a competitor out there at a tournament that has a blue or red uniform brand embroidered on their shoulders, yeah, that was a Premier League rule that has now made it down and emulated on all other circuits. Additionally, you may see a competitor do a different version of a kata that has not been seen or done before, but it was done on the Premier League. I will guarantee you that you will see that kata done somewhere within the next couple of months at an open tournament. That's just a fact. If it happens on the Premier League, it gets emulated on every other karate circuit that's out there throughout the world. That's why the Premier League is what it is, right? So one thing I do want to note for Paris, there's a lot of competitors that were registered but dropped out. Now, some of them were my picks to win the event, and I want to explain how this all works. So like most, I make my predictions based off the registered athletes at the end of the registration period, which for WKF events happens differently than other circuits, right? The WKF registrations run approximately 2 months prior to the event for the Premier League, especially. Your ranking determines when you can register. The first 2 weeks are for the national federations, or NFs as they're referred to in WKF lingo, to register their athletes that are ranked in the top 32. Then the actual athletes themselves that are in the top 32 can register following that 2-week period. Now, this may seem odd for most of the listeners because of how we register for open tournaments, but for countries outside of the Americas, their country will most likely register them for the events because their NF sponsors their competitors. However it's done, the top 32 had to be registered by December 11th for Paris. Following the top 32, the rest of the ranked competitors have a chance to register for a vacant spot for the event based on their rankings. Now, in the time between the registration and the actual event, we all understand a lot can happen on that, right? That is why the Premier League events have waiting lists of competitors that are hoping that they can get a spot. What happens a lot of the time, to be honest, is the NF will register an athlete that just can't make it, but will be on the registered list of competitors until they declare their absence in writing to the WKF. Now, this does happen for various reasons, right? There are a ton of reasons that would come into play, but whatever the reason is, that has to be approved by the WKF, right? And there's a stiff 2 Premier League event ban for a non-approved absence. Obviously, you have illness or injury that can come within more than a month ahead of the event registration deadline. But for us in the Americas, one thing that I don't think a lot of us think of is visas, right? Depending on the country, some athletes have a hard time getting a visa to travel into a country for the event. Let's be honest, guys, with all the events that occur outside of the karate world, right? Sanctions, travel bans between countries occur all the time. Unfortunately, it affects a world organization like the WKF on occasion. I tell you all that to keep you guys in the know, right? So I also don't want you to think that I'm bringing you guys false information. I do everything I can do to bring you the most up-to-date information as it becomes available and try to make any of my predictions based on the information I have at the time. So you will notice if you watched last week's show, I picked some people that didn't show up, right? I picked them to win, and they dropped out. But when I did make those picks, it was based on the registration at the time. But with that, let's give you some of the some noticeable absences at Paris. These competitors were registered and did drop out following last week's episode. Most notably, I'd have to say in the minus 68 kilogram division, world number 1, Irina Zaretska, right? She's not present at the event, leaving us all short of seeing another Elena-Irina showdown. In the minus 75 kilogram division for the men, world number 5, Lorenzo Pietromarchi, dropped out, whom I thought was going to have a great showing coming off what he's done in the last couple months of last year. Additionally, Iranian Madi Kotabashi was not present in the minus 84 kilogram division for the men, who I was really looking forward to seeing, to be honest, guys. After his results from the World Championships and how he came from out of nowhere to take silver, I wanted to see him in this event. Lastly, the over 84 kilogram division, current world champion Mehdi Falali dropped out last minute for his chance to perform in front of, honestly, in front of Paris. I mean, he's French, so he'd have been in front of his home nation. It would have been a great stage for him. It just didn't work out for whatever reason. And with those athletes not present, it left an opening in some divisions for new athletes to make their mark. So let's not wait too much longer. I'm going to start bringing you the results from Paris. As we start with the ladies in the minus 50 kilogram division, started with a couple of surprises, but most notably the draws paired some top fighters in the same elimination pools. Number 7th ranked Emma Scardelli gets knocked out in the first round by German fighter Shara Hubrick, who came in ranked 11th and hasn't had a lot of success in the Premier League since the beginning of 2022. Also, Celia Oiken, who came in ranked number 2 in the under 21 category, shows that she may not be ready for the veterans just yet as she falls to Moldir Jangberbe in the first round 3-0. The quarterfinals went pretty much as expected as the top 3 in the division all won their way into the semis. Also to note here, world number 39 Yulia Palashevska advanced to the final 4, where she lost to defending grand winner and world number 1 Yurgalis Salazar by a score of 3-1. Regardless of the outcome, that was a great showing for her in this division. The next fight in the semis paired world number 2 Reem Ahmed Salama and world number 3 Jangberbe to fight for a spot in the finals. This fight wasn't even close. Salama walked through Jangberbe with a score of 12-4, setting up a final between the world number 1 and 2 for gold. You couldn't have scripted this bracket better, in my opinion. This is what we want to see at a Premier League event. The best in the division facing off in the final matchup, which ended up with Salazar defeating Salama 2-0. As we move on to the minus 55 kilogram division, this one had a major upset, guys. World number 1 Angelica Terluga did not make it out of the elimination round as she was defeated by Alessandra Hassini, who came in ranked 43rd in a 1-0 victory over the reigning grand winner. Additionally, world number 2 Tuba Yankin lost in her elimination round as well to the number 33 ranked fighter Asma Sharif. One who did make it out of the elimination rounds and into the top 8 was Mia Baich. Now, I thought she would be one to watch for 2024, and I guess she didn't take very kindly to her loss of the Series A event in Athens as she came in ready to go in Paris. As she made quick work in the quarterfinals, taking care of Akira Yotoji 4-0 in that round. Ari Shima came into the quarterfinals ready to go as well, and she won her fight 3-0. And those two would walk through the semis, setting up a matchup for gold between the two young fighters. In the end, Shima was victorious and won the gold with a score of 2-0. In the minus 61 kilogram division, had some top fighters left on the sidelines following the elimination rounds. In Pool 6, we found the world number 4, Wafa Majoub, and world number 5, Fatma Naz Yenin, and the same pool where Majoub would come out on top, beating Yenin 2-0 in their matchup. Biggest surprise was world number 28, Astusa Galshanazad from Iran, winning a spot in the quarterfinals by beating the 27th, 21st, and 16th ranked fighters in the division. In the quarters, number 6 and 7 pair up for the most uneventful fight in the division as Li Gong wins by decision over Sahara Shamada in a fight that ended up in a 0-0 tie. Defending grand winner Reem Kamis loses by Senchu to Alexandra Sholokova with world number 2 Anita Sergina and Astusa advancing to the semis as well. There was a chance for an all-Ukraine final, but Astusa would end up beating Alexandra, leaving her to face Sergina for the gold. This match was a close match with a lot of defense and ended up with Astusa winning by Senchu in a 1-1 tie. Well, my Hail Mary pick for this tournament did not pan out as the 11th ranked fighter Kiao Kao Lee lost in the elimination rounds to number 47 Barbara Rodriguez in the minus 68 kilogram division. The biggest surprise in this division was Iranian fighter Mobina Haydarya Zomshaloy, who came in ranked 56 in the world, defeating the world number 4 Seiko Zafanya in the elimination rounds. The quarterfinal has its upsets as well, as Mobina would defeat number 16 Tsubasa Kama. But the shock in this division was Talia Sombre defeating reigning grand winner Elena Corsi. Those last two, one would walk through the semis on a path to fight each other for gold, with Talia winning over Mobina with a score of 4-2. Another shock that happened afterwards was Elena was not able to secure a bronze in the division, as she lost to Alizé Algier 6-2 in one of the bronze medal matches. Now, in the over 68 kilogram division, last year's grand winner Ayumi Yakusa loses to Fabian Kaufman in the eliminations rounds, who has looked good coming off her gold in Athens to start the year. However, this was short-lived as she lost to Lucija Lesjak in the quarterfinals. Also, world number 6 Cleo Ferracuti would lose in the quarterfinal round to Rochelle Walters, setting up a semifinals match where Walters would defeat Leila Borjali of Iran to move on to the gold medal round, where she would meet world number 4 Maria Torres Garcia, who defeated Lesjak in the semis. The final matchup was won by Garcia with a score of 5-1, giving Maria her first Premier League gold medal. Now, the ladies had some surprises in store in the upset department in the Kata division. Let's start in the elimination round, where world number 42 Azuma Saiko beats world number 4 American Sakura Kokomai to advance to the quarterfinals. Also, world number 25 takes out world number 6 and advances as Natsugi Shimizu defeats Paola Garcia. The quarterfinals went almost as expected. However, Saiko would defeat world number 8 Terriana D'Onofrio to advance to the semifinals. This is where we found one of the biggest upsets of the tournament, in my opinion, where world number 1 Grace Lau loses to Maho Ono, who was ranked 7th. So one could argue that it wasn't a huge upset, but it's one I assure you I didn't see coming. Also, Saiko again beats world number 5 Marisa Auchi to advance to the final, setting up an All-Japan Kata final where Ono would secure the gold by a score of 44.0 to 43.6. Auchi and Lau would secure the bronzes. The men started out with a bang in the minus 60 kilogram division, where we found world number 2 Angelo Crescenzo, whom I thought was getting back to form, getting beat out by number 45th ranked Ali Meschini in the elimination rounds. Also, Kaiser Alpespe, the world number 3, doesn't make it out of the elimination rounds as Rayan Mezian defeats him by a score of 3-1, leading to an interesting quarterfinals where world number 5 Hiromu Hashimoto would show Ali that he could not just walk into Paris and take the division, beating him 11-7 in a very exciting match. Also, world number 1 Christos Stefanos Zenos would lose by Senshu in this round to Irei Samdan, leaving a semifinal round where world number 4 Abdullah Shaban lost to Hashimoto, and world number 10 Mezian would lose to world number 6 Samdan. So, as expected, the minus 60 kilogram division will remain a division where the top 10 just keep changing spots in the rankings after every event. It's exactly how 2023 was, making this the most contested division in the Premier League. The final match saw Hashimoto and Samdan battle it out, where Samdan would come out victorious by a score of 3-1. Now, the only division that did not have a major upset in the eliminations rounds was the minus 67 kilogram division. It pretty much went by ranking out of the first round. However, to note, this division had the most top 5 not present at the event. In the quarterfinals, however, world number 2 Daidar Almirali would lose 3-1 to number 9 Afif Ghayath. However, in the semifinals matchup, Afif would fall to number 8 ranked Saeed Obaya 9-7. Also in this round, Luka Maresca would beat Ali Elzawai 6-2 to set up a match between Saeed and Luka for the gold. This match was not close, as Saeed winning by 8 points to secure the gold medal. As we look at the minus 75 kilogram division, we see American Thomas Scott not be able to take advantage of his seed and unfortunately lose all 3 fights in his first in the elimination rounds, which asks the questions: are we beginning to see an end for the 34-year-old? I, for one, hope he regains form, as he was the only American that came to fight in Paris. Defending grand winner Quinton Mahadin would also not win a match in the elimination round and be forced to exit the division earlier than anyone expected. Not only did he come in ranked 3rd in the world, he had the easier draw. He only had 2 fights in his elimination pool and could not take advantage of that. Now, the quarterfinals and the semis went according to ranking with no upsets coming in those rounds. The final matchup ended up pairing world number 1 and defending world champion Abdulaziz and Enes Bullet of Turkey. The match ended up with Abdallah pulling out a victory by a score of 3-1. Now, the bracket got shook up pretty early in the minus 84 kilogram division, as world number 1 Mohammed Al Jafari would lose to world number 8 Konstantinos Mastrogiannis in the elimination round. In the quarterfinals, the number 5 ranked fighter Valery Chobotar defeats world number 2 Yusuf Badaway 3-0 to ensure that the top 2 in the division would not see a gold medal match. The semifinals had Mastrogiannis defeating Belgian fighter Walid Degali 2-0, and Chobotar beating world number 4 Rikito Shimada 4-2, giving us a matchup that I don't think anyone saw coming. Chobotar and Mastrogiannis would face off in the final match, where the Ukrainian Chobotar would win the match by gold in a decision, as the match ended in a 0-0 tie. The over 84 kilogram division had number 62 ranked Issam Najdi, who came to play as he came out of elimination rounds unscathed. However, once he got to the quarterfinals, there was not any surprises. Every win was by a higher ranked fighter. It wasn't until the semifinals where the 2023 grand winner Ryzen Talibov lost to Anis Bostandik, and even though Taha Tariq Mahmoud did advance to the final match, Albay Tolte took him to the limit, where Mahmoud would eventually win by Senshu at the end of a 7-7 tie, leaving Anes and Taha Tariq to battle it out for the gold medal, where Taha Tariq would win with a score of 3-1. Now, the men's kata division was wild ride, guys. There's a lot to unpack. Enes Ozdemir defeats Sakichi Abe in the elimination rounds. Also, world number 3 Damian Quintero was beaten by world number 22 Ryuji Moto in the first round. American Gaikuji Tozaki did have a great showing, even though he didn't make it out of the first round. He won 2 out of the 3 matches. However, he had a bad draw, right, where he was facing defending grand winner and world number 1 Kakuro Nishiyama. The quarterfinals had some interesting matchups, as was expected in this division. Ariel Torres would beat Enes Ozdemir. Ryuji won over Kikuchi. Reigning world champion Ali Sofoglu beat Kaz Moto. And Italian Matt Bussato would lose to Kakuru. In the semifinals, we had a repeat of Dublin, where Ryuji beat Ariel by a slim margin and Kakuro defeated Ali, setting up an All-Japan final of Kakuro versus Ryuji. The matchup of Shotokan versus Shitaru was one that we always enjoy seeing, and just didn't expect it to be those 2 competitors. I would have thought maybe Ali or Kaz would be the Shotokan guy, not Ryuji. But in the end, it didn't matter, because Kakuro took the gold, and the bronzes were won by Ariel Torres and Ali Sofoglu. Wow. Right? That's all I can say. I didn't believe we would see so many upsets in Paris. If this is any indication on what the Premier League is going to look like in 2024, buckle up, folks, because I think it's going to be a wild ride. The biggest takeaway for me was some of the young athletes that stepped up and let it be known that, number 1, they are in the division, and number 2, they are to be taken seriously. There was a lot of that in Paris. But for me, I got to say I have about 3 biggest surprises that occurred in Paris. Number 1's got to be Ryuji Moto beating Damian Quintero, right? Ryuji has had some success, but after he beat Ariel in Dublin, he would struggle to get into the bronze medal match, where he'd eventually lose to his brother. So for him to beat Damian, then Ariel, then Kikuchi to make it to the final was a big surprise for me. Azuma Saiko's silver was also impressive, as she came in ranked 42nd in the world and beat the world number 4, 5th, and 8 on her way to the final matchup. Lastly, Mobina Hadiyar Zomshaloy's silver win, coming where she came from in the rankings, was completely unexpected, right? It's super rare to see the number 56 ranked athlete take a silver at a Premier League event, but she did it, and I hope that we see more of her. I'd like to see what she does after this. But with all of that, guys, I want to thank you for watching another episode of The Traditional Way. Join me next episode, where we will discuss the European Junior and Under-21 Continental Championships that are being held in Georgia. And make sure you check out all the Martial Arts Internet content on their website listed below. Until next time, guys.